What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for April 3rd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. We have a huge show today, so let's get right into it. I'm pleased to announce that I can officially tell you the 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class, and I've been teasing it a little bit. We've been waiting to contact everyone, but it is a star-studded field. Going into this year's induction class is A.W. Tillinghast, who is a golf course designer, Alice Putnam Willits from the lacrosse and field hockey world, Andy Talley, legendary Villanova Wildcats football coach, Angelo Cataldi from 610 WIP is the Legacy of Excellence Award winner. Brendan Hansen from swimming, which is great on an Olympic year. Chase Utley, the man from the Phillies. Cheryl Reeve, basketball coach from the WNBA. Eddie Stanky from baseball. George Benton from boxing. Jameer Nelson from St. Joe's. Joan Moore from gymnastics. Loreline Jones is going in for her lifetime achievement or lifetime commitment for her tireless efforts and works with the girls basketball in the public league. Paul Westhead, legendary coach from St. Joe's. Rod Brindamore and the big piece Ryan Howard. So congratulations to the 2024 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class. I can officially announce that. I've been sitting on this for a while, just waiting for the Hall of Fame to put it out. But I had a lot of fun working with them, going through the ballot, counting ballots, going through merits, and really creating the best class possible. And this one, like I said, is just star-studded. I will put information in the description, so wherever you're watching or listening to this, the event and the induction ceremony is November 7th at 5:30 at the Event Center at Live Hotel and Casino in South Philly. There are many different options. I went last year. I'm so much looking forward to going again this year now that I know what to do. You can do meet and greet. It's just a great time. So I'll put the link down there. It's not too early to buy tickets. But congratulations to the 2024 induction class for this year's Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame class. I would imagine at this point somebody is calculating ballots totals if you put in your ballot through the fans' voice. So I will find out some more information on that and keep you guys posted as well. But November 7th, 5:30 at the Live Hotel and Casino in South Philly. Ticket information is in the description, but what a class that is going to be. All right. As always, we still got a big show. I mean, that was huge. That would have been huge in and of itself, but then there's a lot of things that happened last night. But as always, let's start with a recap of the question of the day. Yesterday I asked you, what was the Eagles' best non-Super Bowl postseason play? Hard to argue with this one. 67% of you said 4th and 26. I happened to be there for that one. Nobody else really. The rest of the votes were evenly spread over the other three. I was there for 4th and 26. I feel like that would have been a higher play just in NFL history had the Eagles season played out slightly differently that year. But what an amazing play. Wilbert's run, I think only because it was against the Cowboys. Yes, it was a big play, but I think that was a more symbolic play. Patrick Robinson's pick six actually turned that NFC Championship game around. So I could see going for that. And then the Rob Carpenter, Rodney Peete, Hail Mary, that was just a fun one because at that point you knew they were piling it on. And if you remember going into that game, Lomas Brown had guaranteed the Lions were going to win. And they were down 31 points at halftime. So good job, Lomas. As always, thank you for participating in the question of the day. There'll be another question later in the show. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Be sure to follow me on social media, Twitter, TikTok, Jimbo_Mont. Instagram at Philly Jimbo. I'm on Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends, spread the word. I have some big things on the horizon this summer when work starts slowing down in my day job. But just subscribe so you stay in the loop, and tell your friends. If you tell your friend and then they tell a friend and they tell a friend, next thing you know how pure like the phone chains and everything work. We're going to get to be able to grow this and do a lot more fun stuff. All right. Where to start? And I guess we'll start with the Phillies. The news earlier in the day was that Connor Brogdon was designated for an assignment. Could get picked up on waivers. I don't know. He might be back in Lehigh Valley. And it's a shame because he had such a good run there in the postseason in 2022, but just has struggled since. So we'll see if anybody picks him up. Likely he'll be back in Lehigh Valley. But the big story was Bryce Harper yesterday going 3 for 4, 3 home runs, including a grand slam, 6 RBI. The offense seemed to finally turn it together, and I feel like this was the type of game we expected from this team. 9-4 they won. Spencer Turnbull pitched 5 innings, looked good. And one thing that's, I guess, lost in the fact that the offense struggled and the bullpen has been horrific is the fact the starting pitchers, minus Aaron Nola, have been pretty solid and like borderline, I don't want to say dominant, but I mean, they've pitched well. Between Wheeler, you had Ranger, Sanchez yet the other day, and then Spencer Turnbull yesterday. I mean, the starters have been as advertised, and you have to believe that Nola will get it together. It's just shocking how bad the bullpen was. But yesterday it was just Turnbull and Ricardo Pinto, who was called up from Lehigh Valley. And I'm not sure if you heard this story or not. It's great. He got the word around early or late yesterday morning that he was coming down. They couldn't get a plane for whatever reason, so they sent a car. He left Rochester because he was up there with Lehigh Valley around noon. Drove, I guess it's a 5.5 hour drive, got stuck in traffic somewhere around Allentown, showed up to the stadium around the 4th inning, said hello to Rob Thompson, went out to the bullpen, and then immediately came in the 6th inning and pitched fairly well. He pitched 4 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts to get the save, and it's one of those things like I could see this being in like a movie or a sitcom or something where they keep flashing to him driving, flash to the game, flash to him driving, flash to the game, and then saying hello to the manager saying, get warmed up, you're coming in. But a great story, good win for the Phils. Hopefully this is the start of now them waking up. Good to see, like I said, Bryce snap out of it in a big way. But hopefully they can get that game in today. I don't know. They moved it back to 4. Just watching the news this morning before I got on the air, like it does not look good, promising, but we'll see what happens. But good win for the Phils. Bryce with a huge game. Meanwhile, across the street, after being, at first it was, there's a possibility he'll play tonight. Then he was ruled out. Then all of a sudden he was ruled questionable. And then an hour before the game, Woj dropped the bomb that Joe, in fact, was coming back last night. And it was, I kind of felt like he does this. Like, I don't know whether because he's like a wrestling fan, he likes the flair for the dramatic and the dramatic entrance. But it seems like every time they say Joe is out when he comes back from an injury, he always comes back. It doesn't matter if he's doubtful, out, questionable. He comes back to play. And he played well. He scored 24 points in 29 minutes. You could tell he was getting tired, and I'm glad they actually had him play. I hope he plays the rest of the way these last 5 games to build up his stamina and his endurance. But 24 points in 29 minutes. Sixers won 109-105 against the Thunder. Yes, they were without Gregorius, but still, they're a good team. They were tied for the top seed in the West. So this is a good win. Joe hit the free throws down the stretch, and they did it without Tyrese Maxey. So, I mean, you could also make the argument that the Sixers were shorthanded. So, I mean, any way you look at it, this is a huge, huge win for the Sixers. They're going on a short little road trip now. They go down to Miami on Thursday in a huge game. Then they go to Memphis and San Antonio, two very winnable games. But that game against Miami on Thursday is huge, not only because the Sixers need to win with 6 games left, but because of the tiebreaker situation with the Heat, that would even their season series, and then they need to kind of win out division games and things like that. Currently, they're a game and a half back of Miami, but they're only 2 games out of that 6th seed with 6 games left. The crucial 6th seed, because I would love nothing more than to get a playoff series against somehow, some way against Doc Rivers. And I mean, if there is basketball karma or basketball gods out there, the Sixers and Doc will face each other in the second round. And I've been saying it all year, and I still believe it. I think Doc chokes. But good win for the Sixers. I'm pumped up, and here we go again. I do it all the time. I know what's going to happen. It's like going back to your, like, bringing your ex back to your family after you've talked so much trash on her, and then saying, hey, we're in a good spot. I know how this is going to end up. I know it's going to crash and burn. I know that, but I don't care. I'm going all in. I mean, especially the way he played last night. If he came back and didn't play well, I mean, you could tell like some short shots falling short, not getting a lot of arc sometimes. You could tell he was just gassed and catching his breath. That is to be expected. But he changed the flow of the game. And when you get Maxey back, again, I'm going all in. I know it's going to end badly. I don't need. If you want to, go ahead, give me the comments and call on the Back to the Future line. But man, I know how this is going to end, but I don't care. I'm going all in, head first. Sixers, break my heart. I know it's going to happen, but I'm willing to take it, especially after seeing what I saw last night. But that does lead me to today's question of the day, kind of determining how bad that heartbreak is going to be. Now that Embiid is back, how far can the Sixers go? Are they going to be out during the play-in tournament? Are they going to win the play-in tournament and be a one and done, like lose in the first round? Will they win a series, or can they make a deep run? Let me know where they're at. I mean, listening to the radio 94 at the gym this morning, people were all over the place. There are people saying they're not even going to win the play-in game, to people saying that they penciled them into the Eastern Conference Finals. So those two ends of the extreme and everywhere in between, let me know what you think. I definitely think they win a playoff series at least, and if it is against the Bucks in the second round, I'm penciling them into the next round as well. But let me know what your thoughts are. 267-495-8531 on the Back to the Future voice and text line. How far will the Sixers go now that Joel's back? And the further they go, the bigger the heartbreak's going to be for me. But that's okay, because I will bust out the Sixers hoodies. I'll bust out my old starter jacket, and I'm going to go all in. Ain't no stopping us now. Like in 2001, I wish I still had the flag to put on the back of my truck. Let's go. All right. But be sure to let me know how far you think they're going to go on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. All right, some quick Eagles news. The WWE WrestleMania is this weekend at Lincoln Financial Field. The rumors were circulating that they did ask Jason Kelce to be a part of it. I can only imagine. God, that's going to be fun. Hopefully it's Saturday night while I'm there. And then the other big news was Wentz signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of people were still like up in arms. Like, I don't know. I feel like Ben Simmons, I have a deep-seated, deep-rooted hatred for. Carson Wentz, I mean, I guess if they didn't win the Super Bowl, there would be some level of disappointment or hatred. I think it's even probably worse than hatred. I'm just indifferent to Carson Wentz. Like, good for him. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. I guess let me know your thoughts on Carson too. I don't know. I feel like I don't have any thoughts on Carson, which might be worse than hating him. It's kind of like when your parents say, I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed. Like, I don't even feel disappointed. I'm just like, I'm indifferent, which is probably way worse than anything. But let me know what you think about Carson signing with Andy out in Kansas City. All right, Flyers did not play. They don't play again until Friday, but we do have some updates on the playoff push there. The Capitals did lose. The Islanders won. So currently, the updated standings, the Flyers are a game up on Washington in the Metro Division. So they're kind of hanging on to that non-wild card spot. They also are one game up over Detroit, who are tied with Washington. But the Islanders won yesterday, so the Islanders now are only 2 points behind the Flyers, which I forget. I should have checked for sure. I think there's like 7 games or 8 games left for the Flyers. They're right around the same boat as the Sixers, so it should be an interesting time. But the Capitals lose, Islanders win. Flyers didn't lose any ground, but all of a sudden the Islanders are starting to creep up a little bit. So I'll update you more on the standings tomorrow. The other story was John Tortorella basically ripping his team after the loss to the Islanders the other night, saying it's an embarrassment to wear the Flyers jersey. Nobody really showed up to play except for Fedotov, and people were like really getting on him for it. But maybe I'm old school with that. Not one thing he said was a lie. Like, that was a piss poor, embarrassing performance by the Flyers. So, I mean, I get it. Sometimes he goes over the top with things, but I mean, he didn't say anything that wasn't true. But we'll have a Flyers playoff push update tomorrow. I believe the Islanders play tonight or Detroit, one of the two. So we'll have, in theory, I think because Detroit is in the other division, I think we should be. I don't think the Flyers can move out of that spot they are in the Metro Division, but we'll update it tomorrow. Philly Goat, I showed you the shoes yesterday. If you didn't see it on YouTube, go back to the YouTube and just look. Those shoes are phenomenal. And like I said, I didn't doubt them, but they exceeded my expectations. I had high expectations going in, and man, those shoes are great. The socks I got from Amazon came, so I'm set, ready to go as soon as it stops raining. And yeah, they're kind of like boat shoes, but not that kind of boat. You need an ark the way it was raining out here today. But go check out the shoes and get a couple shirts to match at phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. If you didn't see my review of the shoes on yesterday's show, go back and watch it. You can see what they look like. These things are phenomenal. Very, very high quality, amazing looking. And honestly, for the quality and the price, it's well worth it. I mean, it's not, and you can even take 10% off using that promo code Jim Montgomery. So go to phillygoat.com, check out the shoes, get some shirts to match. I promise you won't be disappointed. All right. Today, we're going to go back to 2004. And on this day, April 3rd, 2004, the Cleveland baseball team came in and beat the Phillies 6-5 in an exhibition game, which was the first ever baseball game at Citizens Bank Park. The initial reactions were overall pretty positive. There were still some things that needed to be completed. I was reading the newspaper article by Todd Zalecki, and there were some things like the details. So like the signs you see now for like the sections with the pinstripes, they weren't installed yet. So everything was like computer printout and like laminate. But obviously that just comes with the territory. Everyone said it was a hitter's park, and there was a couple home runs hit that day. And Todd Zalecki, that article was great, and he even said, "Could you imagine what this place could be?" He said, "This place could be fun in October." No truer words have ever been spoken. If you've ever been to a game at Citizens Bank Park in October, and it seemed like it was so far removed, so like to even think about October baseball in 2004 for the Phillies is just it seemed like a pipe dream, but man, was he ever spot on with that. The first game, when it first opened, the bullpens were switched, so the Phillies were the top one, and then the visitors were the lower one. The guys in the bullpen complained about it because they couldn't see the scoreboards and the sight lines weren't as good. Billy Wagner said, "Why should we get heckled by our own fans? Put the opposing." So they ultimately did end up switching them. One of the coolest things from the article, though, was in the fourth inning, Casey Blake of Cleveland hit a 2-run homer to left field. The crowd was yelling to the guy who called it, Dennis Murphy, throw it back, throw it back. And he said, they interviewed him, he said, I didn't want to throw it back. He's like, I either wanted to keep it or give it to one of his kids, or I don't think it was one of his kids, or one of the kids that was sitting near him. But he got caught up in the moment, threw it back, and a tradition was born that still 20 years later is going on at Citizens Bank Park. There's a couple other home runs that were thrown back that day. The stadium itself was still 8 days from officially opening, so again, there's still some work that needed to be done. They played the next day against Cleveland again, but overall, a positive reaction to the opening of Citizens Bank Park on this day back in 2004. And on that note, in honor of the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park opening, for the next 20 days, I'm going to give you my 20 favorite Citizens Bank Park memories. They're in no particular order. Some of them I've been to, some of them I've watched on TV, but this is just randomly. These are the best memories that I have from Citizens Bank Park. And for this first one, we're not going to have to go back far. August 9th of just last year, the Phillies beat the Nationals 7-0 to improve to 63-52 on the year. Nick Castellanos hit 2 home runs that game, including the 200th of his career. Weston Wilson also hit a home run, but Nick Castellanos' 200th career home run was lost in the shuffle because the story of the day was Michael Lorenzen, who pitched a no-hitter in his first home start since being traded to the Phillies from Detroit. He did it on 124 pitches, had 4 walks, 5 Ks. Rob Thompson, if you remember, went up to him in the 7th inning when he was about at 100 pitches, asked him how he felt. Lorenzen was like, I feel great. And he's like, all right, I'm only giving you 20 more, so make the most of them. And see, he certainly did. He did go a little bit over that, but Thompson's not going to pull him out with like a couple outs in the 9th inning of a no-hitter. But the last hitter he did face likely would have been his last, Rob Thompson said. It was one of 4 no-hitters that have ever been thrown at Citizens Bank Park. Roy Halladay's, Josh Beckett, and then Game 4 of the World Series when the Astros pitched, I think it was a 4-pitcher no-hitter against the Phillies. But today's Citizens Bank Park memory for the 20th anniversary is Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter August 9th of last year. Phillies beat the Nationals 7-0. Okay, sticking with the Phillies theme today. Our team that has unfinished business, that still has meat left on the bone, or left some meat on the bone, are the 1976 through 1978 Phillies. And man, I'm glad I was not necessarily, I shouldn't even say necessarily. I was not alive for either of these 3 seasons. And thankfully, because, man, 1976, I think, caught a lot of people by storm. It was like one of those progression things with that team. It was their first winning season in 8 years, the year before in 1975. So this was like the next natural progression step. They went 101-61, won the NL East. Mike Schmidt got off to a hot start and just kind of set the tone for them that year. Ultimately, though, in the NLCS, they were no match for the Big Red Machine, who were just one of the greatest teams ever. And this was sort of the end of their run almost for the Big Red Machine. In 1977, they came back and went 101-61 again, won the National League East, faced the Dodgers in the NLCS. A series they lost 3-1, but they certainly had a chance. They split the first 2 games in LA and then came back home in what was known as Black Friday. I've heard the stories from this game so many different times. It was the Bert Hooton game when they rattled Bert Hooton, who was complaining with the umpire. So the crowd just started going, hoot, hoot, and really had him in typical Philly fashion rattled. The Phillies were actually up 5-3 going into the top of the 9th of that game, getting ready to take a 2-1 lead in the best-of-5 series. But then Danny Ozark made maybe one of the most boneheaded moves in Philly sports history. He didn't sub out Greg Luzinski, which he had done numerous times for defensive purposes that year. He left him in, and as fate would have it, if you tempt the baseball gods are going to strike down with great vengeance. And Greg Luzinski, the fly ball that would have been the third out and ended the game, hit off the tip of his glove, and ultimately the floodgates just kind of opened up. That led to the famous play, that controversial play, when Davey Lopes hit a smash down the third baseline, hit off of Mike Schmidt's knee, but bounced right to Larry Bowa, who threw it over to first. And depending on who you ask, Davey Lopes says he was safe. Larry Bowa, as you know, gets all heated, says he was out. The replays are kind of inconclusive. I don't know what would have happened with today's technology. The Phillies certainly would have challenged it. It was a close play. Put it to you that way. That would have ended the game still with the Phillies being in the lead, but instead, because he was called safe, the winning run ended up coming in and ending basically. The Phillies just never recovered. Lost in that because of the Luzinski play as well as the Davey Lopes play was the fact that in the second inning, the Dodgers scored a run that the replays conclusively showed that Bob Boone blocked the plate and he never touched the plate. Again, another one of those things. Had it been today's game, the Phillies would have won that game and likely would have went on to the World Series to play. I believe the Yankees won it in '77. So it's just one of those things. It's a victim of the circumstances of the time, but the Phillies certainly would have won the challenge on that. Again, they never recovered. In 1978, they won the division again for the third straight year, going 90-72. Because it was a closer pennant race, they needed to use Steve Carlton down the stretch to win the division, so he was not available for the first two games. The Phillies lost both of them. They salvaged the game against the Dodgers in L.A. when Carlton pitched, but then they lost 3-1, never being able to get past the Dodgers or the Big Red Machine, going to 3 straight NLCSs and only winning 2 games. But the following year, Pete Rose came, and we know how that all played out for the Phillies. This, until this most recent stretch from 2007 to 2011, was probably considered part of the golden era of Phillies baseball. I think that has been overtaken by the 2007 to 2011 team, but still a very good, probably that 76 to 83 range probably is right up there as far as the golden era. You can make the argument either way. But today's Philly sports team who has unfinished business and left meat on the bone was the 1976 through 1978 Phillies, who went to 3 straight NLCSs, only to lose twice to the Dodgers and once to the Big Red Machine. They would get their vengeance in 1980, though, when Pete Rose helped lead them to the World Series behind Mike Schmidt's MVP season. Today's 20th anniversary memory at Citizens Bank Park is Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter from August 9th of last year. Be sure to go check out the Philly Goat shoes and use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. On this day, back in 2004, Citizens Bank Park officially opened, hosting the first exhibition game as Cleveland beat the Phillies 6-5, but the overall reviews were high for the Phillies. The tradition of throwing the home run ball back was also started by Dennis Murphy from Northeast Philly. So, Dennis, if somewhere out there you're listening to this, like and subscribe, tell your friends, hit me up. I would love to sit down and just kind of talk to you about how you were able to create a tradition that 20 years later is still at Citizens Bank Park. And also, if anybody knows Dennis Murphy, give me his contact information or tell him to get in touch with me, because I think it'd be cool to have a sit down, especially the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. So, Dennis, if you're out there, hit me up, brother. Hopefully the Phillies get this game in today. Let me know what you think about the Sixers now that Joe's back. How far are they going to go? How big is my heartache going to be? 267-495-8531 is the number to the Back to the Future voice and text line. Hit me up and let me know, how disappointed am I going to be? Be sure to check out information for this year's induction class for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Get your tickets early because it's going to be a big one. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Try to stay dry today. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.